Yesterday at the house, I was eating an apple. It's funny, I told Clark, I said, it's funny how you can get a sermon different ways. And God told me right there when I was peeling that apple, he said, all Satan's apples have worms. All Satan's apples have worms. Turn with me to Genesis chapter 3. We went to the apple picking, which it wasn't no apple picking. They told us we could have all the apples that we wanted that was on the tree free. And they was all under the tree, rotten. So we didn't get too many off the tree. But it was fun. But it's funny, I kind of watch people. I know we do, and you pick all through them, and you're thinking you're getting the best ones, and you pick and pick and look. And my grandpa used to say, Johnny, you know what's worse than eating an apple with a worm in it? And I said, what? He said, finding a half a worm. And I said, ooh, because I know where the other half went. So I've always thought about that. And when we was out there looking at these apples, I got to thinking about that, what my grandpa said. And I started looking at them things, make sure there wasn't no holes in them, because I didn't want a half a worm. If you would, let's all stand if you got it. We're going to read the first 6 verses. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, had God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree in the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto her, this is her getting the bad apple, You shall not surely die. For God doth know that the day you eat it, therefore then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to her eyes, and a tree to be desired, so make one wise, she took of the fruit therefore, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband, which her, and he did eat. Brother Skip, pray for me if you would.
Heavenly Father, we just ask, Lord,
Yes, Lord. Yes, Jesus. Yes, Jesus. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you. Now, we know that the devil, he has some pretty apples. They're shiny. He shines them up real pretty before he gives them to you. And he will tell you what you want to hear to get you to do what he wants you to do. He's going to tell you that this won't take you to hell. And the whole time, that's where he's trying to take you. That's where he's trying to take you. What did he tell? He told Eve, he said, surely you won't die. Well, that wasn't good enough. See, he had to make it a little bit sweeter. So he says, if you take a bite, you'll be like the gods. You will know good and evil. And she thought that would be a good thing till she took the bite. Then her and Adam, she gave it to him, and their whole life changed right then. That's why we have to work hard as we did. He put them out and said, now you got to fend for yourself. All because of what? Because the devil tricked her into doing this, and she thought it was okay. How many knows that people are out here sinning and they think it's okay? We got Christian people that come to church on Sunday and just hallelujah, glory to God, and then all week they let the devil just take them. That's why people are so eager to get to church. Makes them feel good. Makes them feel good. Why? Because you're in the presence of God. And when you walk out of this church, He's waiting on you at the door to give you another apple. But remember, all His apples have worms. In other words, they ain't no good. There's no good in them at all. So, what am I saying? The devil's not going to really tell you what's good and what the reality is. He's going to paint you a pretty picture. He's going to make everything look like it's okay. It's okay. You can just do what you want to. It's all right. That's all right. Turn over with me to Luke chapter 15. I'll tell you another little story. How many knows the story of the prodigal son? Everybody knows it, don't they? I'm not going to read all them verses. You can read them. But the only verse I want to talk about is verse 17. Luke chapter 15, verse 17. And I want to read part of it. And when he came to himself. All right. We know he's out here. He was tired of being at home. He was tired of working. He didn't want to work no more. He's fed up with everything that's going on at home. So he told his daddy, if you got anything to give me, give it to me now, because I'm going to hit the road. Well, he did that, and he took off. We got kids today that don't want to listen to mom and daddies. They want to hit the road. I can do better by myself. I don't need you telling me what to do. I am grown. I'm only 12, but I'm grown. Now, how many's got 12-year-olds that's 48? So they all know what's going on. But then my question would be to them that's moved out on their own, that ain't got a job, ain't making no money, living off everybody. How's that working for you? You know? How's that working for you? You didn't know how good you had it. What did he say? I ain't got nothing to eat. Even the daddy's servants has got food. They got enough to spare for me. But see, the thing is, he came to himself. And he said, I got to go home. I didn't realize how good I had it. I got to go home. And he headed back home. And most daddy mamas, when they come walking in the door, would say, I started to tell you. Jump all over them. I knew you wouldn't make it. But we just let you go on with your hard-headed self and do it. But we knew you'd come back. But no, his daddy saw him from afar off and went running to him. The only thing he said was, my son once was dead, but now he's alive. The devil gave him a bad apple. He gave him a bad apple, and he took it. Why? Because it's pretty. I open that drawer in the refrigerator every time I turn around and I see them apples and them things so pretty and shiny. I love to pour salt all over them. I love salt on my apples. And I'll get one of them things, and I guess the devil gave me a bad one yesterday. I ate one, and my sugar went up to 409. I said, "Ooh, just a little apple?" So, but he gave him a bad apple, and he took it. See, he planted all them thoughts into his head to say, "You can do better on your own. Get on out there. You got friends you can live with." And the first thing you do is your friend says, "Hey, man, you want to smoke one?" Smoke a what? You ain't used to this. Because Mom and Daddy's house, you didn't do stuff like that. Now you walked into somebody else's house and said, "Let's shoot a needle." Come on, man, this will make you feel, you won't have to worry about nothing. Make you feel so good. Then you say, "Why not?" But see, he didn't do all of this. The Bible said he came to himself. He knew he had did wrong. He knew he done took a bad apple. He done took a bad apple. And the good part is when you come to yourself. See, it didn't happen to Adam and Eve like that. It don't matter if they come to themselves or not. God done kicked them out. But his son had a chance to go back and redo it. That's what I love about God. It don't matter what you've been through this whole week. I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you drank a quart of liquor. I don't care if you run around with 5 other women. Well, I'll say 2. Most of us ain't old enough to run around with. I'm too old to run around with 5. That would be heartbreaking then. But then God says, "I don't care about all that stuff. You can always come back. You can always come back." See, we listen to the devil more than we listen to God. He'll say, "You can do this. You all right. It don't matter if you not drinking. You're just taking a sociable drink." I've been down that road. I start with a sociable drink and didn't know when I was ended up. Didn't know where I ended up. Because I listened to what he said. Few beers ain't hurting. No. Oh, man, they say beer good for your kidneys. So all of us that's got kidney problems, go out and get you a 6-pack of beer. No. You say, "Lord, I got a kidney problem. Heal my kidney problem." That's what we do. We don't listen and take another apple out of the bag and say, "I'm okay with it." No. What did Judas say? Man, 30 pieces of silver in one day. That's the most money he ever seen in one day. The devil says, "Yeah, and it's yours. All you got to do is rat on Jesus." And he did it. What happened when he come to himself? Went out and hung himself. So what I'm trying to tell you, one of these bad apples can take you further than you really wanted to go. That what your intention when you started. You started with an innocent little thing that turned out like Judas. He knew what he did wrong. So he hung himself. So what I'm telling you this morning is, you say, "Well, I eat one of his apples. I didn't see no worm." Could it because you already got it? You might be already eat it. Now you committed a sin because you eat that one with the worm in it. So now every time you turn around, you're sinning and you don't understand why. You come to church and you feel so good and you say, oh, I'm okay. But are you really okay? Are you playing games? Do you think you really won't go to hell? Do you think hell's not a real place? Well, the Bible says he enlarged hell. He had to enlarge it because of so much sin. But the good thing is, you don't have to go to hell. You do not have to go to hell. You might say, I'm at the place right now where I ain't no good for me. Everything's going wrong. Ain't nothing going right. Just like the prodigal son. For a few days there, he lived it up. When you got sin in your life, it's okay for a season of pleasure. But then, as they used to say, it's time to pay the fiddler. And so we have to say, I have to stand up here. Pastor Ronnie has to stand up here and tell you, if you think that you're okay, but you don't know that you're okay, then you got a problem. You have a real problem. Because the devil has convinced you everything is okay. It's all right. But it's not. The devil is feeding you a bunch of lies. You know what lie stands for? Look at this. Lie. Let's in evil. That's exactly what the devil does to you when he lies to you. He lets in evil. And you accept it. My mama, a lot of people called her a witch because she could read fortunes and she could do them Ouija boards and wouldn't make them move without even touching them. And right before she died, a few years, a preacher cast it out. They said over 10,000 demons in her. Why? Started with taking an apple. That's all she did. One little thing. And then the devil says, you can have power. He gave her power. My mama read a fortune to a lady one time that was going to have a baby, and she didn't want to read it. The woman told her, said, tell me anyway. Mom told her, said, you're going to have twins, and they're both going to be born dead. And they were both born dead. The woman said that my mama put a curse on them and killed them. My mama didn't do that. Devil had it all lined up. You know, we say God orders our footsteps. He walks ahead of us. But you know the devil does the same thing? He's got your misery started for tomorrow already. He's already got it lined up, what he's going to do to you. And if God didn't walk before us, he would do it. But God stops him. God stops him and says, no. Who was it that made the young man stop and come to himself? It was God. But God let him go. Why? Because he said in the Word, I won't cross your will. If you want to sin, go sin. I ain't going to stop you. If that's what you want to do, well, watch the misery that's fixing to come upon you. My wife told a girl one time, said, if you don't change your ways, bad things going to come upon you. And it did, because she wouldn't change her ways. And I'm here this morning to tell you, if you're in that position, I'm not saying everybody is, but if you're in that position, you need to change your ways. Because we've seen what happened to Eve and Adam, we see what happened to his son, and we've seen what happened to Judas. And there's more in there. There's more in there. Let's in evil. Open the door. If you keep the door closed, he can't get in. How can you keep the door closed? You read this word, you get it into your heart, and it stays there. He says, so that I might not sin. So if it's closed, ain't nothing going to come in. The devil is strong. He can kill you or cause you to kill yourself. So always remember, one of them apples, he's going to offer to you. He's going to offer to you. And he's just like the ones up there in the mountains. He says you can have it for free. It don't cost you nothing. I heard a story about, I think I told some of you, the preacher come up on this little boy. He had a whole cage full of birds. And he said, what are you doing with them birds? He said, well, I'm just playing with them. When I get through playing with them, I'm going to feed them to my cat. He said, how much you want for them birds? He said, you want to buy these birds? They ain't nothing, birds. They ain't nothing to you. He said, how much you want? And he told him how much he wanted. He paid him. And he opened the cage and let all the birds. Well, one day the devil come up. He was there, and God come up and said, he had a whole crowd of people. God said, what you doing with them people? He said, I'm playing with them. He said, I'm going to cause some of them to have divorces. I'm going to cause some of them to kill themselves. I'm going to cause some of them to rob banks. I'm going to cause some of them to kill other people. And he said, then when I get through with them, they're mine. And he said, how much you want for them? He said, why you want these people? All they're going to do is spit in your face. All they're going to do is put a crown on your head of thorns and stab you in the side. Why would you want them? He said, how much would you take for them? He said, all your blood. He said, all your blood. Jesus said, let them go. Let them go. We're those people. We are the people that the devil is playing with. We're the people that he says, they'll take my apple. They'll be glad to take my apple. It's pretty. It's shiny. They will love it. They will love it. I think about when Jesus said, let them go. He gave all his blood for me, for you. You know why he did that? So that I don't have to sin. I don't have to sin. The Bible says we all come short, but he didn't say we all sin. He said we all come short. And we do. Every day we do. But he forgives us. I'm not a sinner. You can't call me a sinner. I'm a child of God. I don't do nothing that if God was standing here, he'd say, yeah, you are a sinner. No. Can you ask yourself that? Do I do anything that I know is wrong? Do I need any to change? But sin will take you a lot further than you really intended to go to start with. And I don't think that any of us wants to go to hell. You don't want to go to hell. And the thing is, you don't have to. Romans 10:9 said, if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thy heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Where are you going to be saved from? Hell. That's what we're saying. When you say, I'm saved, you've been saved? Yeah, I'm saved. I ain't going to hell. We are saved from hell. We're going to be offered apples every day. Every day. Listen to what God says. Read his word. Get it in your heart. Don't think about this. When you start getting depressed and think you ain't doing it, read about these people. Read. Go back and read about the prodigal son. Go out and see what Adam and Eve did. All because she thought she was doing good. But see, the devil not only lies to us, he blinds us. He won't let us see what's really happening. All he does is says, "You're all right. You still a Christian. You can do what you're doing and be a Christian." No, you can't. And he'll let you go so far. And then he's going to turn you over to yourself. Then you are in a mess. So today is the day to tell the devil, "I don't want no more apples. And I done come to myself." Today is the day that God can get you out of bondage, because you're bound if you believe in all this stuff. You are bound. And you need deliverance from it. Every time we walk in this church and God's presence here, you can get anything you need from God. It's just like the pool. We stir in it every time we come in here. God sends the angels to stir the pool. And everybody that needs something from God needs it. You can get it. My biggest hope and prayer is they bring my great-granddaughter up in a church. I was brought up in church, and I hated it. I hated church. Ain't nobody like church when you're little. We had wooden pews, wasn't padded. I'd take my marbles and shoot them from one end to the other. And every time they'd click, my grandpa would snap his finger. I knew I was going to get a whipping if that finger ever snapped. And I'm sitting there, and see, I could listen to the devil and say, "No, you ain't going to get no whipping," but he didn't know my grandpa. I knew I was going to get a whipping and I got it too, buddy, because I was playing in church. But I grew up in church. Now, church has changed a lot since I was a little boy. In most churches, I'm 4 minutes late. Those got out at 12 o'clock. But God don't have no clock. But see, we're about his business. When they found Jesus, he said, "What you doing?" He said, "I'm about my Father's business." That's what I'm doing today. I'm about my Father's business. And my Father says, "Hey, some of you here need a change in your life.